So how do we actually get all these stuff set up? So if we go back into our project files, and I'm just going to double click into it, and I'm going to go directly to my source and into our main. If I click on our main, it's going to open up, and I'm going to toggle back into our Finder, and I'm going to double click on our main.as as well. If I click into our main.as, we're going to see this is a file structure here that has some code in it, and we're kind of like pre-written amount of code that we're just going to have there always until we learn a little bit more about object-oriented programming. We're just going to assume that that just has to be there always. Now, to make a linkage between where we're going to code and our FLA, we have to actually tell our FLA that our stage from now on, our root, our application hub, where our source code begins, is our main.as. And the way we do that, and the way we've done it in our pre-downloaded files, is we typed the name of our class directly into our class property. We got rid of the .as because we don't need that, and it wouldn't work if we would. And we just typed, and it's really important to note, it's really important, uppercase M, all the rest lowercase, everything in Flash. It's very, very important to make sure that you type it exactly the same way, or things won't work the way that you expect them to work. So we have our linkage between our class and our main. So let's see how we could run our application. So obviously, if we run our application right now, because we said we haven't done anything yet, and we just run it, and that's another point that we have to make sure. How do we run our application? So far, it was a magic that I was working on. The way we run our application is going through our control and then clicking on test movie. Command enter. So command enter would then run my application. So command enter is really how we want to run our application most of the time as we're testing our application. And as we run things, we're going to see things in our compiler error and our output if we have any mistakes. So let's link back to that. We store the compiler error. But if we go now into our main AS and we know that it's linked together, and the way we know is we have our class set as main, and if we click on this edit class definition, this pencil tool thingy, and we click on it, it will take us into our main AS. In our main AS, if we had any errors, let's say we by mistake didn't add a bracket, let's just delete this bracket. And don't worry about what it is and why it's there, but it just has to be there. And if we try to run our application again by clicking on our command enter, we're going to see that we're going to automatically get a compiling error, which is going to tell us that there's something that it's missing, and we're not going to dig into it right now, but basically it means that we're missing what we had to have there. Well, if we run it with it, then everything is fine. Okay, so that was our compiling errors. Let's see how we could trigger things into our output. Now, with that said, it brings us to where is the area that we could type in. And I'm just going to run through what we have here just really quickly. And we're not really going to dig too deep into it right now because it's really early on. We're just going to, what my really request right now is just assume that this always has to be here. But let's just see this. Our package is basically saying, like, it's telling Flash in what directory our main is sitting. And right now our main is sitting in the exact same directory. We're going to see how we could work with setting it in different packages in future videos. But for our sake and purpose, we always open a curly bracket to kind of contain something. So everything inside of this curly bracket area, and I'm just going to highlight it, everything inside of here is part of this package. Don't worry about what is a package. Now, inside of this package, we're importing a movie clip, which is basically our base foundation block, which is our root, our application, where we're actually switching our root to be our movie clip. And a movie clip it has all the functionalities and all the code kind of built into it that Flash needs to know how to run our application. And for now, that's all we really need to know about it right now. And here we're defining a new class, which is our new object. And I know this is, like, I'm really running through it very, very vaguely, and the reason is because there's a lot of details we would have to get into to be able to really understand these things. And in this intro videos, we're really not going to really touch object-oriented programming, but we're going to work inside of the environment of an object-oriented program. In other words, all of this is defining, what we're doing is we're defining a new object that is then created dynamically as we're running the application. We're creating a new object, And this object is actually our application. Now, inside between, as you can see, our public function main, open round bracket, close round bracket, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Between our open curly bracket and close curly bracket of our main function is where we will put all of our code from now on until we... Now, what I want to do is, now that we know that, and don't worry about why, just assume that you just have to have all this and all your code has to come right here. So all your code has to come in where I'm just typing right now. Now I'm going to teach you a really quick kind of command, which in Flash is called a function. And we're going to run our function, this quick function. We're not going to go into the details of what functions are. We're going to look at that in a future video in this release. We're just going to see how could we trigger things to output into the output panel. And the way we do that, we're just going to type trace. We're going to open a round bracket. And we're going to click on Shift, comma, so to create a double quote. And we're going to type very, very cheesy, hello world. Close our quote, same type, double quote. Close our round bracket. And then put here a semicolon. And that's all we really need to be able to run our first application. And what this will do is it's going to send this string, it's going to send this value to our output panel. And if I run my application again using my command enter, I'm going to see in my output panel, hello world. And it's not part of our application. Users can't see it, but us, as we're testing our application, we could see our hello world. Now we were working in our object-oriented world. Now, obviously we haven't really dug much into this world and what everything here actually means. What is a class? What is an object? What is a movie clip? What are functions? Why are we inside of a function when we're making these calls? What are packages, and so on? And we're not really going to answer those questions in these initial videos. We're just deliberately sitting inside of the object-oriented kind of area to make it easier and kind of getting used to being in there as we decrypt and slowly understand what are the different pieces that are here.